guys. So I have just decided that I want to film a video of me talking today. I've always talked and joked about wanting to do a podcast, and this obviously isn't a real podcast. But I don't know. I just think no one's going to see this video anyway, and I don't know. I just felt like doing a reflections type video. So I thought since it's July, it would be good to do a sort of halfway through the 2025 year reflection. And it feels so crazy to say we're halfway through the year because to me it feels like the year started yesterday. And so I don't know. I think this will be good for me sort of to reflect on how I feel where I am halfway through the year, and also it'll be fun to look back on one day. So the first thing I want to talk about, which is going to seem kind of random, but is my bullet journaling. So I have been dabbling in bullet journaling since probably 2020. And I just want to preface this by saying, when I say bullet journaling, there are people out there who are actually so good at it, who are so good at calligraphy, who have Instagram accounts, all of that. I am nowhere near that level, not even close. I want to be at that level, but I'm not. It's just something I do for fun, and I really like writing out song lyrics from songs that I know and doing drawings to go with them. So that's kind of how it started. And while from 2020 on, I was sort of I had this notebook. It wasn't even a designated bullet journal notebook, but I would just every now and then do little bullet journal pages in it, very inconsistently. So one of my goals for this year in January was to buy a new bullet journal and officially have a bullet journal for the year and fill it up within a year. So in January, I got this guy. I got it from Amazon for pretty cheap, $10. And we're halfway through the year, so you would expect that I would be halfway through the bullet journal. And guys, I am literally nowhere near that. I am this far in. This far in. This is really bad. And here's a kind of quick flip through. And it's disappointing. I am really disappointed in myself because I really wanted to stick to this goal, but I didn't. But we are halfway through the year. We still have 6 months more to go, so I'm just going to fill up as much of this as I can. But I know that seems kind of a silly thing to talk about because it's not a huge goal or anything, but it's important to me, so I decided to put it in this video. So that's kind of where we are with the bullet journal. Basically didn't do too well with that this year. Next, I wanted to talk about books. So I actually just started reading the ACOTAR series, and I just finished the second book in the series, so this is the third one. Haven't started it yet. I am very late to the game, I know that, when it comes to ACOTAR. All of the romantasy girls, this is old news. But I had been putting it off for a while, and I kept saying I was gonna read it, and finally I was in Target, and I was in the book section, and I don't know, it was I saw the first ACOTAR book. It was so shiny, so pretty looking, and I haven't had a physical book to read in a while because I use a Kindle and I just use my phone. And I was like, you know what? It's time. So I got the books and I started reading. I've been enjoying it. I mean, I love romance, so that's kind of why I started reading them. Romance is my favorite genre. I will say, I think there was a lot of hype around this series, so my expectations were extremely high. I don't know if my expectations were really met, but it's a good read. I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna read this one. And I also think one other thing I've decided is that I think I like regular romance better than romantasy. I don't think I'm truly a romantasy girl. So for context, I have read Fourth Wing. I read the first two. I haven't read the most recent one. I'm behind on that too. And I think the thing for me is what I like about the romantasy books is the romance. I don't care as much about the fantasy. So for me, it just kind of makes more sense to read regular romance because that's what I'm all about. That's what I'm here for. So, and I will say a lot of the romance I read. So first of all, this could be a whole separate video, but I went through my Wattpad phase much later in life than a normal girls usually do. I feel like Wattpad is a canon event for people who are my age now. It was a canon event, I feel for them when they were in like middle school, going into high school. I discovered Wattpad after college, and that is like when I became obsessed with it, which is kind of embarrassing to say because I was just out here reading like tween books, romance books written by tweens. I didn't read I'm not really into fan fictions, like all those One Direction like novels and stuff like that. No. But all the romance stuff, yes. And don't get me wrong, when I read them, I would always be like, these are written so poorly, these kind of suck, but I was still into them. I was still reading them. And I was doing that probably from like 21 to, I don't know, 24. Very long time. So that was kind of how my love for the romance book began. Then I transitioned into actual published romance novels, but still kind of like, a little bit of like cringe romance, like things like Icebreaker, stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I say cringe, but I still love them. Like, I don't think it's cringe. It's just for like somebody my age, it's probably a little bit cringe. But anyway, all this to say, this has kind of been the journey in the romance world. So then I kind of graduated to like real romance on a Kindle, no longer have Wattpad, and now I'm in my romantasy era. So I'm gonna finish this book, and then I've heard that Sarah J. Maas, her other series are pretty good, Crescent City or whatever, and then there's another one. So I think I'm gonna read those two. But that's where we're at in terms of the books. So yeah, there's nothing, I guess the point of that, it's not like I had a goal of how many books I wanted to read or anything like that. I just feel like sharing that this is new, the romantasy aspect, and that's where I'm at. This is such a mess. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. Okay, next. Oh, this is kind of an important one, or like a little bit more of a serious one if you're still watching. Exercise. So here's the thing. Exercise, I'm trying to think how to start this out. Well, let me preface this by saying I have not been great with exercise, like at all. I think the last time I really consistently exercised was in high school, or no, in college, and prior to that, like high school when I played sports. But really, ever since I graduated college, I haven't gotten into a good routine. I haven't like consistently been exercising. I've had periods of times where I exercise more than others, but it's never been consistent. And here's what I want to say about the exercise. My friend actually sent me this Instagram post that I feel like really summed up how I feel about exercise and why I want to do it like really well. And basically the gist of the post was that for me, exercise I don't think is about looking a certain way. And don't get me wrong, like those are obviously positive benefits. But I think truly, and this might sound kind of cheesy to say, but I want to like exercise and be healthy just for like my chronic well-being. Okay, for me it's about bone density. It's about longevity. It's about reducing my risk of heart disease, reducing my risk of like chronic disease in general. That's why exercise is important to me. And so, I'm trying to remind myself of that to motivate myself to exercise. And something my family and I talked about recently, which was actually very interesting, was if you guys have ever read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think. I haven't read it. I've only read like some chapters of it. My parents were talking about how there's this one part of the book where they talk about like the 4 quadrants and dividing like certain tasks in your life into 4 quadrants, into whether they're important, not important, urgent, not urgent, and then like they overlap. So you have there's one box that is important and not urgent tasks, which from my understanding are tasks that people often neglect because they're not urgent. So you don't have this sense of like, oh, I have to do it. But they're really important, and they're important for you long term, or they're just important for your overall being, and you need to do them. And so for me, the exercise kind of falls in that box because it's not urgent. It's not like it's not like a deadline or assignment that I'm like, oh, it's due tomorrow, I have to do it. So it's really easy for me to be like, I don't want to do it. But it's important. It's important for all of those things I said. It's important for basically longevity and healthy life and having good bone density and reducing your risk of diseases. That's what it's important for. So I don't know. I haven't been doing great thus far. And I really like for the rest of the year, my goal is to just be better. I don't want to set a goal for myself of like how much I want to exercise necessarily, because then I feel upset when I don't reach the goal. And I think at this point for me, it's more about just like making a habit, doing something, being consistent, because doing something is better than nothing. So I do have a gym membership, and I actually do have a gym in my apartment. And, the one positive side of this is like I do remind myself that it's not like I've been doing nothing. I have been going to the gym a little bit. I have had weeks where I'm more consistent, and that does count for something. So I think like giving myself grace, and also for the rest of the year, just like one of my biggest goals is just reminding myself why it's important to me and just trying to turn it into a habit. And that's all I'll say about that.